Hey, what's up, everybody? I wanted to take a minute and welcome you to the Donut Shop podcast. I had a suggestion from somebody who watches the show and thought it was a good idea. I'm always open to suggestions about the show. And he mentioned that I never usually introduce myself or at least tell you about who I am. And with adding new fans or new viewers all the time, it might be a good idea to go over that. So, my name is Justin. I've been a police officer for 20 years. I'm actually getting ready for retirement. I'm going to retire and start doing this podcasting stuff full time. During my career, I've worked on road patrol. I've been a crisis negotiator. Did that for about 8 years. It was great training. Learned a lot about mental health and working with people. I was a school resource officer. I worked in the elementary school and then in the high school. I did that for 6.5 years. Then I also moved into the community resource unit and public information officer unit. So I did a lot of community engagement. I ran our social media for the department. And then I also spoke with the news. Kind of leads into this, even though I was a podcaster before I was in that unit. I've been doing podcasting since about 2012. I started with a soccer podcast with some friends for a local soccer team. We had a great time. It was a little different than this, obviously, but I was on the mic and doing that kind of stuff. Then eventually in 2020, started this podcast with a friend of mine, Nick, and he's no longer on the show, but the show drives on, and here we go. Basically, it's a cop sitting in a donut shop and someone interesting walks in. They don't always have to be law enforcement based. As a law enforcement officer, we know when we're in uniform, pretty much everybody comes up and talks to us. Especially when we're trying to take a break and eat dinner or eat a lunch or something like that. It's not usually a bother, and sometimes you get interesting stories out of it. So that's kind of where I created the premise for this podcast and what it is today. Now let's get into the episode.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Donut Shop podcast. I am here today with fellow Counterculture Inc. Podcast member, John Guarnieri. He has a podcast called Speartalk Podcast. He also is he's spent his career protecting people. Most of them you've seen on stages and on screens, but also political leaders, major rock bands, all kinds of stuff. Started out his career, some of this career with Secret Service, and then now is the chief operating officer of Silver Spear Security. So yeah, we're going to get into all that kind of stuff. So welcome, John.
Awesome. It's great to finally be out here, Justin. I know we've been playing phone tag and email tag, but it's just great to be here. It's great to be part of the Cancel Culture Network.
Cancel culture or counterculture?
Counterculture.
but the anti-cancel culture. So yeah, John. I mean, I've talked to him a few times through. Sorry, dealing with a little chest congestion cough thing. So yeah, hopefully. So I've talked to you a few times through getting on the network and stuff, and you've had this podcast for a long time. We'll get into that at some point. And then you've been on a couple of the former open mic show that we had on Friday nights. Now it's during the daytime. But so kind of I like to establish everybody and go back to the beginning. So go back to the origin story of kind of like where you came from and how you got into the just protection and security in general.
So born and raised in Massachusetts. And growing up as a kid, I mean, my first R-rated movie I watched was Predator. And so I've always had this fascination of just good versus evil, good guys versus bad guys. And as a guy going through high school and playing sports and stuff, I really started, a bunch of friends' fathers were in law enforcement. And I really settled on the idea of I wanted to serve the public and be a cop. And then as I go through high school and do all that stuff. I start falling in love with criminal justice and all that stuff, the psychology behind human beings and just laws of the Constitution. And then I decided to go to Norwich University, which is the oldest military college in the country.
Yeah.
And I do Navy ROTC there for 4 years. I did want to commission in the Navy, I wanted to live on a submarine. I'm fascinated by submarines, and I love isolation and just not dealing with people.
Oh shit. Okay, so
And
you can kind of do the tour bus thing too, then.
oh yeah, that's just basically a submarine above on wheels. So that's all that is.
Yeah, submarine
And,
with less pressure. Okay, all right,
yes.
cool.
Well, maybe more pressure in different
Well,
ways.
different type of pressure. Yeah.
And so sophomore year, I'm about to, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to commission, graduate as a second lieutenant. And my
Yeah.
dad gets sick. And then my biggest fear was he was in a coma at the time. If something happens, I want to be there for my mom. And my sister is my mother. And so I don't sign anything. I still finish out the 4 years in Norwich. I still do 4 years of Navy ROTC because I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then junior year, my buddy that graduated 2 years prior has started driving lead motorcycle for motorcades in DC for the Secret Service. And he's like, dude, John, you put all your eggs in the basket. You're going to love this. And so at that time, I wasn't really thinking Secret Service. I like the DEA or ATF, like kicking in doors and type stuff.
Yeah.
And then I got thinking about it, like, well, I really love all that. I love the idea of the protection and like all the stuff that comes with Secret Service. And I knew the training would be outrageous. And so I put all my eggs in the basket. And so that whole process takes like a year. My polygraph was like 8 hours.
Wow.
The background evals, the psych evals, the physical, all the people they're digging up just to see if I'm a good human being. And so I graduated in 2008 from Norwich, and then within a couple months, I get the call, hey, you're jumping, you made the class. And so you spend about 3.5 months down in Glencoe, Georgia, to pass the DHS requirements of that. And when you graduate that, you obviously go to Beltsville, Maryland for the Secret Service. That's another 3.5, 4 months. And then you kind of jump into it. And so I did that through 2014. I went through a divorce at the time, got super burnt out during the Romney-Obama campaign. I think I was home like 19 days that year. And I met my partner and CEO at my security firm now, Chris, backstage in DC at a Charlie Sheen show because he was watching Charlie Sheen when he got fired off the television show. And I see him in the corner, and I'm starting talking to him, and like I love the vibe. And I go, hey man, and we both agree that the minute I get burnt out from the politics of the government and stuff, jump ship, do that. So after 2012, the divorce, that campaign year, stuck it off for a year and a half, and then I jumped ship in 2014. And then we've been the Silver Spear Group since then, and travel the world with celebrities and bands, and kind of do that. So interestingly enough, it's like obviously the government's very political, but in entertainment or podcast space, the politics there are just as stupid. It's just obviously in a different level in terms of like like world changing. But the one thing here being private, I'm my own boss. And so the only politics I got to deal with is making sure my people are doing the right stuff and that I hold myself accountable and that our clients are treating us the way it should be treated. So it's like, for me, the politics are just as dumb, but me being my own boss now, I can kind of look at that and just kind of laugh sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. You may have even come through, because I know Obama came through where I used to work, and I can say it now because I'm retired. So Sunrise, down where the Florida Panthers play, we have an arena, and I remember working on the law enforcement side, an Obama event. I don't remember if it was a campaigning event or if it was after. It was probably a campaign style event, because they don't really come around and say, hey, I'm president, I'd like to talk to you guys.
Right.
So yeah, we were probably because I remember it being an Obama event, because I remember I was standing with one of the sergeants, and we were inside the doors of the arena, and it's just the way that the lines were set up. People were just pressing against the windows of the arena to try and get in. And I was like, holy crap, this looks like Walking Dead or something like that. And I remember I worked a lot with the uniform division guys, talking to them. I stayed in contact with one of them, and he sent me a whole bunch of stuff. So yeah, I think it was right between Bush to Obama, because I remember he sent me like a whole big envelope of like all this Bush stuff, signed pictures that, they just had in a closet, I'm sure, from Bush, and like pictures of his dog and stuff, all kinds of,
Well, one of
interesting
the
stuff.
interesting things, especially obviously the Secret Service and local law enforcement, and what I do with local law enforcement, that communication between local law enforcement, you can be so good at your job in my position, but I'm only as good as long as the communication's there, especially when you start working with local law enforcement and military for big events or smaller events. And I've always found that that's the biggest joy of my life, when I get to travel, go all these venues around the world, and still see the same security managers or local law enforcement people at these places, and you get to play catch up. And it's like, I love meeting those people, seeing them again, because you tie yourself, you start working with really great people. It
Yeah.
just makes the event go that much more smoother, especially again when it was like Secret Service to like law enforcement. You got to do with the TDS and the WACA and all the advanced teams, and then the boots team. And so it's like all this stuff where you're just like, it's a lot to put in, and it seems like a lot, but if you have the right people, the right law enforcement, they're there to supplement and help. I mean, they
Yeah.
do all the grunt work and dirty work, and it's like that relationship for me is where I love my job.
Yeah. When I was a PIO, I got to work in like the command center, basically, for a Trump event at that arena, and I had a great view of the media parking lot where they brought the Ospreys in, and I'm pointed west, looking at the Everglades. So that's where they flew in from, because I think they were coming from Palm Beach. So and it's like, you didn't see anything for like at all, and they're like, no, they're coming, and it's like, they're what? And I'm talking to the guys that are command post, and they're like, no, they're there. And then all of a sudden I just would see like the red light turn on the Ospreys, and then those things just go and just come right in. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy crap, they came out, because it was pitch black dark, basically westbound into the Everglades. And I don't want to give away, I shouldn't give away, but I think everybody can figure out the best route to come into that arena. And so it was super interesting to watch that come out. And then of course the Suburbans and all the minigun trucks and all that kind of stuff pull in and corral him, and then he gets off. And then Air Force One would come in and stuff. It was a really cool event to watch that. Now, once like Trump was president, and I had seen a different side of it, being on the ground, or being like boots on the ground for me during the Obama one, and then being kind of in the command post area for the Trump one. Very cool to see the different aspects. And it's just, that's a lot. And like you said, you got burnt out during the Romney Obama campaign, dealing with that. I can't imagine, because like, just for the candidate should get burnt out.
Yeah.
Then you've got the support, which you guys are just running. Like,
because we would fly, we usually with like C5 or C17 to like the Beast of the motorcade, we'd fly with the thing. And so you're just kind of like, there'd be sometimes we woke up and it's like, oh, we're in here. Like, I didn't even know what state we were in. Like, I felt like I spent so much time in Wisconsin, I should have bought real estate there. Because it's we just wake up.
It was a battleground.
Like, oh God, it's like there in Vegas, or like all these different areas where you're just like, man, what are we doing? I mean, I get what we're doing, but it's just like, you're treated like you internally, you feel like you're being treated like cattle.
Yeah.
But you also know you signed up for this job, and I don't regret any of it. The life experiences, the training, would not change a single thing. But it does make you wonder, like, how really appreciate like the amount of workforce, men and women, that goes into making sure this stuff happens. Whether it's a political leader, a mega church, a band, a celebrity, whoever it is. There's so much behind the scenes that goes into this for the people on the ground doing this stuff to make that person shine. And it just really gave me appreciation to people, especially now. It's just like all my friends went through the pandemic and the George Floyd stuff and the police defunding and all that stuff, where I'm just like, man, it's so easy to throw shit on these people, but you don't realize the amount of work they're doing just to keep these streets safe. And so it's, for me, it's just like, it's just a great appreciation to all that.
So and during that, like, I mean, I keep going back to the burnout thing, and you mentioned divorce towards the end of your Secret Service career. How is that on family life when you're just running? Like, is it almost like just like you're, let's say, deployed in the military, where you're gone for X amount of months, or do you get to rotate out and come home for a little while, or is it just like, hey, hold the fort down, I will see you when I see you?
It's pretty, You have a pretty standard schedule, and I say standard when there's not like a campaign year. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, a president or whoever, the head of state of somewhere, is going to go and do their normal stuff each week. But campaign year is where you just pack up your bag and I'll see you when I see you. And so I
Yeah.
don't have any kids. We had a dog at the time, but it's one of those things where like all my friends that have the families where you get burnt out and you just I know a lot of people went through divorces, the amount of alcohol consumption and alcoholism, and people get addicted to stuff that it's their only vice to help them escape from the chaos of this. And it's like I remember when we were there, like I think the unwritten rule was like you can't be drinking 6 hours before a shift,
Okay.
and people will be pushing right to that last friggin' minute. And it's like they show up, do their gig, nothing happens. And I think that's changed now, obviously, because stuff has happened since then, like Colombia and the
Right.
Cartagena.
That was one of the things that I was thinking about.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
advanced team in Colombia got
yeah, yeah.
in trouble
So it's
for
like
partying.
you're chasing two dragons here because you're chasing the rush of the job and what you're doing, but you're also trying to chase your sanity. And if the work isn't doing it, what's going to help you do that? These people that like Colombia with the prostitutes or the drinking or the gambling or these other addictions people pick up just to kind of keep them sane. Like it's kind of a tragic thing. And so I don't I don't have firsthand experience dealing with like kids and stuff, but like I can imagine one of the reasons why now like, I have this idea of getting a dog, and I have a great girlfriend. But like me leaving for 8 months on tour with a band, I would feel bad that if I get a dog, the dog's supposed to live to like 12 years old. I'm spending half my life away from this thing.
Yeah.
Now, if I had kids, I would feel even shittier.
Yeah.
But then you're also like, this is my job. I have to pay the bills. This is what pays the bills. This is what gives us what we do. So it's like it's a fine line. I always admire the men and women that are able to kind of figure out and find the balance for all that.
Yeah.
Because we talk about family life, and I know you could talk to this, whether it's the family life and work. But what also helps keep your mind sane? Do you want to go hiking? What are your hobbies? Is it podcasting?
Totally.
So all this stuff to feed, where the people that can juggle all that stuff, I mean, I think they're the most happiest people.
Yeah, and I'll say maybe that there like I might have a negative to me where I wanted to be more selfish because I'm in the same boat. Like I don't have kids and I loved all the hobbies that I had and I recognized, obviously we tried to have kids, it didn't happen and I wasn't about to try and go total sci-fi on kids and whoever wants to do
Right.
that, feel free. Like you got to do you. It wasn't for me, and so I chose. I was able to choose my hobbies, and I'm who I am. And we're all going to be different. We're all going to have different choices, and but yeah, I can totally see that where I mean I just know like guys and girls that work just for police departments, especially the ones that get together and have prosperous families. A lot of times if they both work road patrol, they've got to work totally separate schedules, midnights. One work midnights, the other one work days, or one works weekends, the other one works weekdays, depending on what that department's schedule is. And it's that's a sometimes to me I would look at it and I'd almost feel bad for them. Like, man, you've got to go through this, but sometimes it's only for a period of time because your kids start to get to an age where they can, you know, work a little bit on their own or do, kind of look after themselves a little bit or, but obviously when they're brand new babies, you got to worry about sitters and all that. So the finance and the stress. So that it weighs, I'm sure, on everybody in law enforcement and the military.
Yeah,
And
doctors. I mean, yeah,
it weighs on everybody.
even these guys they go wake up at 4 in the morning to build a building. It's like this
Yeah.
is it weighs on you, and I again I admire those people that can able to find that balance.
Yeah. So let me drop a quick commercial and then we'll come right back. Yo, what's up, everybody? Want to let you know I have a new website format. Same website, donutshoppodcast.com, but this time I'm running it through Shopify. Make it much easier to purchase items because aside from the hats that I have up there, Donut Shop Podcast, PVC hats, the blue line snapback, laser mesh, nice and clean on the inside, comfy hats. I have some other swag, t-shirts, can koozies, just some other stuff that I put up there. I'm running the website through Shopify, and so it'll make it real easy for you guys to go on and purchase some stuff and support the show. So thanks for tuning in and following the show, and don't forget donutshoppodcast.com. Thanks. Yo, what's up, guys? I want to do a follow-up. I used to run an ad or commercial for my friends at HPTRT, Human Performance, talking about like testosterone therapy or, all that kind of stuff. I finally have been, I've been using it. I've been, a member of the program for over 6 months now. I got my second round of labs, and I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. When I first was tested, I was at 330. I'm a 43-year-old man, and my test was at 330. I didn't even go through the injections. I'm going through a couple different types of prescription pills that they have to help me out. All legal, all on the up and up. But after this 6 months, my test has gone up to 910. As somebody who works out 3 to 4 times a week, wants to stay young, wants to stay healthy with all this stuff. It's helped with all kinds of stuff, like my focus, continuing to give me like the best sleep that I've ever gotten. I've enjoyed it. So go over to hp-trt.com and check it out. You can bring, if you've had lab work within the last 6 months, you can bring your own lab work and they'll start you up. If you haven't, then you pay for the lab work through them. Or you can just go to your own doctor and do your lab work through your normal insurance, which I'm sure has a zero copay, if anything. And use the code DSP20, and that'll get you 20% off forever, as long as you're a member, as long as you use Human Performance. So it's a great program, good people over there. So go ahead and get it done. And if you've been thinking about it, or if you've looked at recent tests in your testosterone and you want a boost of that kind of stuff, get into it, because you can also get the testosterone through them as well as peptides and other things. So DSP20 will get you 20% off. Good luck. All right, we're back. And so so you transitioned your career from the Secret Service, political protection, into the entertainment industry. So how did your Secret Service training and your experience that you gained over in that aspect roll into making you a valuable,
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously when it comes to like the personal protection side of it, the Secret Service is obviously the premier with that, dealing with crowds of people from rope lines to walking someone into a restaurant out the back door, dealing with paparazzi. The difference here is that, I mean, politically, obviously Obama did it more so. Trump's kind of a little different now too, in terms of like going up to random people. So you always have to kind of like deal with that type of thing. But now with me, these people are just as much in public eye. And so the general public is more susceptible to approach them and do what they think they can do, because they're not protected by Secret Service, or they don't have this whole conglomerate around them making sure they're
right.
buffered and protected, right?
Secret Service, you can see the Secret Service.
You can shut down a mall in 2 seconds, and you can shop at any store he wants by himself. And so with this, you have to be more cognizant of like your surroundings and what's kind of going on with you. But again, it's just, if you could build a rapport with the person you're watching or the band you're watching, that is the number one thing, where if they trust you, you trust them. And I'm fortunate enough not to work with anyone that wants to be on TMZ every night or kind of put themselves out there, making my job more difficult. But yeah, it's one of those things too, where it's like you have all that training, and then, as you know, every 2 years, CPR standards change, or fire stuff changes, or crowd management certification change, or a pandemic hits, and you have to learn about bloodborne pathogens and how to do all this other testing. And so it's just like the training's always there. You still have to shoot every 3-4 months to maintain your concealed carry stuff. All this stuff where it's like, just because you have this chunk of training at the beginning of your career doesn't mean you stop. And a lot of people in my world that are either too old or being phased out because they don't want to adapt to the times, or they don't want to put the time in to improve themselves, they just kind of fall off the wayside, and I'm there. My people like myself are there to pick up the scraps. And so for me, it's like the training never really stopped. Obviously, it's much different. I'm not training how to survive a helicopter crash as much as I'd like to. It seems like that happens every other day with a celebrity. But like that type of training though, man, it's great. And like dealing with people, the customer service for is like 85% of the job, like how to deal with people. And I always treat it right. Even when the person's wrong, the customer's always right. And so you have to deal with them with that mindset. And when I've been with crowds of people or dealing with a domestic or a drunk person, it's like, how do you combat that and diffuse that situation? That's the best training you get in real time. And obviously with law enforcement, it's like you are always, the camera is always on you. There's someone always watching you to trip up or say you did this or did that. So it's like, again, you have to be super professional and maintain training. And it kind of goes to there because, as you know, the world keeps changing and stuff happens where we have to look at something differently now or how we approach something. But yeah, it's just the transition was smooth, but it was also, I realized that I couldn't rest on my laurels with that.
Yeah. You just can't sit back. And that's one of the things, like you were kind of talking about training and stuff that even into retirement now, like I've bought myself, like they call them battle belts or range belts. I bought myself that. I got myself a sweet Kimber, 2K11 that's amazing, but I want to attend trainings that I didn't necessarily train as a law enforcement officer because I felt like, oh, I'm getting the best training, which I know I wasn't, but I was getting training at the department, to make me adequate. But now I want to start going to some of these private trainings, like competition shooting type stuff, because I don't want it to fall by the wayside and become, lazy, because I'm still going to carry a firearm off. I'm not off duty. I'm always off duty now, but I'm going to always carry a firearm still. So I want to be proficient at it. I want to be good at it. And I'm still young. Like I'm not, I don't want to be phased out. So, that's a interesting point and something that I'm trying to do too. So with social media changing things, and like kind of changing the aspect of like threats and stuff. But also like I see some of these influencers that want to come out and do some stupid stuff and catch,
like Jack Doherty going after Arlovsky last week.
The first one that comes to my head is like, so you're in a situation like that where, just for anybody that's not aware, it was below it was like downstairs during at an arena during the boxing
Jake Paul
match
fight,
Jake Paul, that you've got Arlovsky, which is one of the killers, to quote Rogan, like a killer in MMA and UFC and all that kind of stuff. And
he bare knuckle boxes right now too.
Oh yeah. So, and those guys we've talked to Mike Perry and these guys, and they're insane. And so you've got these social media influencers, not necessarily the Jake Pauls, maybe the early Jake Pauls of the world, but these guys trying to make names for themselves and like stepping up and trying to get punched and stuff. And you've got to probably, as a head of security kind of stuff, look out for liabilities as well. Aside from safety, do you have to like keep in mind liabilities?
Well, it's one of those things too, where it's like, you never want to see your client embarrassed. You never want to embarrass them. And part of it, you never want to get embarrassed either. Showed up that someone makes me look like an idiot. Right. So it's always that fine line. Like, how do you the best way for me is, at least, we're going to places that predetermined, unless it's like a day off or just going to a mall shopping, like then we'll deal with whatever. But like if it's a predetermined stop, or, hey, we're going to do this movement and this is going to happen during this, you have to put yourself in position to succeed with all that stuff. It's like, don't allow a random person with a camera to get up in your person's face, especially today's day and age where everything is so political, where it's like, all you need is someone to say is down with Israel, or free Palestine, or I stand with Ukraine, or all these catchphrases that either side are throwing at each other, because that is what's going to, people are just going to dogpile this person, right or wrong. And so you have to kind of prevent that.
And your guy may not be paying attention, and they may just go, yeah. And not realize what they just
say something
to.
Where it's like, you don't realize what you just said on this YouTube channel. Who is
Sphincter says what?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so, I love Wayne's World. And so when that stuff happens, I mean, there's been times where people have kind of rushed us in places and stuff, usually in Europe, place like Russia and stuff where it's like they're great people, but they just have no concept of like social distancing in
Oh
terms
yeah.
of like spacing.
Yeah.
Um,
Asia.
yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like, yeah, it's crazy. But they're all great people, but it's culturally they don't understand like, hey, this is what space is. Like, don't approach people at dinner or wait outside hotel rooms and stuff. Like, there's been situations where that stuff has popped off. But again, you really can't. I don't. Orlovsky handled that the best way he could. Is it like
Yeah.
I wish he hit the kid,
Yeah.
or at least hit him more. But
Would have
yeah,
looked like Jake Paul's jaw.
yes, just
Yeah.
wired shut. And
Yeah.
so that stuff happens, but like the social media, you have to treat every threat like it's a real thing. Now, obviously, you can look at someone's how they typed it and where they're located, and do like the minimal search and realize this person has no means to come to this arena or this location to shoot
Right.
someone. But again, you have to keep a file of that stuff. And Shine Down recently headlined Rockville in Florida last year
Yeah.
with like 75,000 fans. And we had a death threat that morning. I got alerted from the on-site security and management that someone posted something saying, hey, I'm coming with my gun to kill the band and whoever. And so that gets jumped up. He said sheriff's department finds out the woman lives in Wisconsin. She's offered medication. Her husband answered the door. But this is a woman that typed on an open source thing on Facebook or whatever, I'm coming to shoot the band. So it's like that type of stuff. If you're that messed up mentally or on drugs or just saying that stuff, you have to treat it with seriousness. And so
Yeah.
there's been
Yeah,
times
those are
too where they death
crazy.
threats like, hey, like a bunch of us in at least Shine Down, like obviously we're all Christian, but this one religious fanatic was just like saying, hey, I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna do all this stuff, I'm gonna kill you, and like you're gonna die, I'm gonna kidnap your kids. And so it's like, again, you look at this person, you and I can look at this person and be like, this person has no means to do this. But my biggest fear is not this person, but the person that latches onto that has the means to be like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to whatever. I got a gun. So it's like that you have to treat all this stuff seriously. And social media, I love it, but it's also the most evil, corrupt, vile thing out there right
Vile
now.
for sure. Yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you. And you're right. That guy that's going to say, okay, cool, I'm going to try to meet up with this dude and be his second shooter or take just as much of the glory or something like that, because I've been thinking about this too. So yeah,
Yeah.
you've got to take all that stuff seriously and do the threat assessments, because that's what we see on so many of these high profile tragic events when they're like, oh yeah, it was on their radar, and that's a typical thing to say, they were on the radar, because yeah, but what we don't realize as the general public is how many of these actually come through. And you have to, like you said, you got to put them at like a priority on what you can see, and like, what you can open source, like for you, open source, find out you're not, doing not freedom of information, but Patriot Act type stuff, because you can't do it anymore. You're running security softwares and
Yeah.
different stuff, but you may not have the reach that the federal government has to dig into somebody's background and some files and their, all their digital history and stuff. But there's so many of us put so much out there on the internet that it's pretty easy to put together a dossier on somebody for stuff that they have just by searches. So
Nothing bothers me more, to your point, where it's like if you're like a person gets arrested and they've already been in jail 6 times, so they keep getting let out, they keep committing these crimes, and eventually they do kill the girlfriend and the newborn child. It's like that just frustrates me, because it's like these things. Oh, we knew about this person. Well, why is he allowed to get out?
yeah,
Like eventually, this stuff's going to catch up to everyone if you don't do the right thing and keep the right thing in place. It's just so frustrating to me, where it's like, okay, I have a record of this person making death threats. Me not following up with this person every couple of months or just keeping tabs on her or them, I'm not doing my job. So it's like when you have like these departments and stuff that don't put the resources in, or like you look at the political, like the global scale now, where it's like, oh, we knew this person was a shooter. He's been saying this stuff. He had a manifesto. And whether you believe it or not, there's a paper trail here, yet this person is able to still get out and do this evil thing. It just, I don't know. It's the whole thing just frustrating.
Yeah, I sent my wife this one video that she was like, "Oh my God, how can they do this?" And it was just to kind of go on the social media side of it and the influencer side. there's the video going around from Times Square on New Year's Eve where there was a dude sitting up on the ledge of a skyscraper that's right near Times Square, because you could see the lights blinking in the background, and there was a freaking sniper, an FBI sniper trained on this guy. And at one point in the video, you could see the laser on him, but he was just waiting for the guy to pick up a weapon. And all he was doing, he was wearing a freaking, I'm going to call it balaclava because I'm old and I forget what the other name is that the kids use these days. But he was wearing like a ski mask balaclava, but there was a photographer in the background taking pictures of him. And my wife's like, what, how can he be allowed to do that? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, if the place wasn't totally cordoned off, like, you can get up there, and the guy's probably just taking social media pictures to look thuggish, but with all
the Dark
of Times
Knight
Square in the background. Yeah, the Dark Knight watching over it or whatever. But the FBI was like, no, you are not, but that's where the influencers are trying to do their thing. But what they're causing a lot of times is expenditure of resources from law enforcement, from security, that sometimes distracts people from, or distracts us from a real threat.
Now,
and
if that influencer had picked up a piece of aluminum foil or a thing that looked like a gun or something that flashed, that FBI person would have that's a good shoot. I was trained, if it looks like a gun or whatever, if you can articulate it, what you do, and then it's up to. So
and you're talking time and place. Why am I, as an FBI sniper, on a roof surrounding Times Square? Because and why didn't me, Justin Yarbrough, stay home with two other couples to just party here? Because I didn't want to go out in public, because the threat assessment for New Year's Eve, especially after last year with New Orleans, stuff going on in the world, I was like, yo, I am staying home. We're putting a bonfire out by the pool because it was cold, because we're in South Florida and it was 50 degrees, and we're just streaming Times Square to the house. And that's what we're going to do, because I don't even want to go to downtown Fort Lauderdale.
I did hear that they did secondary searches inside the first perimeter for New York City, which I thought, again, probably after last year in New Orleans and like all the stuff that's happened, like, it's good to see that type of stuff happening, where it's like, yeah, I know it's a nuisance, but listen, if you're going to go to New York Times Square and wear a diaper and shit your pants just to stay in line, you got bigger issues to worry about. I think security is doing just fine.
Yeah. It's and I saw in the morning when the commissioner was like, yeah, we have every NYPD officer in service today. And I was like, man, that's crazy. And I've been meaning to text my buddy who he works in Manhattan, and he's coming to the end. I thought he was going to retire in January with me, but he told me the other day he's staying on till like March or something like that for some reason. But during the pandemic, he had some amazing stories, and I hope to have him on someday, talking about, the Battle of Washington Square or something like that they called it, like when there'd be these huge protests, and they'd just be there doing their thing, making sure that everybody had a freedom to protest and do whatever. And then people would start looting or whatever. He had one night where he's like, yeah, I've been basically in an all-out war since 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in front of the Macy's on whatever, like 5th Street or Broadway or whatever. And I was like, Jesus, dude. And he sent me pictures of like these like little French barricaded bunkers almost that they had created that was like in the middle of the crowds. And he's like, yeah, we were in a battle, bro. And I was like, wow, like that's some stuff to look back on, hopefully happy and healthy when you retire. Because crazy stuff in New York and in a lot of places. We had a very light protest, and part of it was because it was raining the day of the protest, so that was kind of good. And we just escorted them around the streets of the city with police cars and had intersections blocked off and let them do their thing. But they were, not to overuse the statement, they were not just mostly peaceful, they were all peaceful. But we had attempts, because we have a large mall in the city, and South Florida is known. I mean, it's this way in a lot of cities nowadays with the ATVs and the dirt bikes. You're running through cities and doing wheelies and stuff, and we get those huge fake parades and stuff that happen. But the during the pandemic, when the mall was very shut down, when you saw on the news, like the lootings of like high-end stores and stuff, and we have that in the mall, very high-end stores. that are exposed on the exterior of the mall. So they're not interior. They're not secure inside the mall. You can just drive right up to them. We had what I thought, and our patrol at the time on Midnights did a good job preventing it. We had dirt bikers coming through, probably scouting situations, like, because those stores boarded up as if it was a hurricane, so it looked like a hurricane basically, but it was because they were closed for pandemic-y type stuff. And then there was also looting around the country going on in these stores. And our patrol guys did a great job chasing the freaking dirt bikes and making sure, as a show, in my opinion, as a show of force, to say, hey, you come over here scouting, you're going to send back a message of, yo, Sunrise is there fucking people up, like arresting them, causing them to crash, all those kind of things, so allegedly, none of this is true or proven. It's all probably documented, but patrol was not fucking around, because they were not going to have that kind of shenanigans that you see in some of the places that were stretched thin get hit with. So
right. And it boggles my mind that there's people that the media could convince people that, hey, this cop just stopped a attempted smash and grab and threw this kid off a bike. Yet they're looking at the picture like, oh, the cop's too aggressive. Yeah. It's just like, I don't envy. I love law enforcement. I can only imagine what it goes into. Like, if you're a kid today, see what's going on in the news. I mean, I think it's cleaned up a little bit since the defund movement, but you imagine wanting to be a cop and then turning on the news every day and just seeing the slander and the bullshit. I mean, obviously there's bad cops, but you never hear all the good stuff they're doing because it doesn't sell, right? It's not the news.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I can only imagine, like, someone that is close to retiring. It's like, I bet there's a sense of joy. They're going to miss the brotherhood and what the badge meant to them, but they're not going to miss the bullshit where their own agency doesn't defend them or their own city council looks down on them. So it's like, I don't know, man, it's super frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, people in my city, they could love me all they want and stuff like that, but I'm just one slip up away from getting written off. And it's my opinion. It may not be fact, but if an officer feels that way, it's very tough for them to go, oh, wow, I'm just going to keep doing this job, or I'm going to stay, and to this day where we've got body cameras, and then we have artificial intelligence viewing the body cameras and flagging words and stuff like that. When I use the word retarded on a call, explaining things, partially because it's maybe jargon that I have because I'm a 43-year-old man and it's something that I used to be allowed to use, and I say it and it flags it and sends it to my sergeant and says possible use of profanities or language, and what was I doing? I was sitting there talking to a 14-year-old that didn't want to go to school that day, which sometimes I feel like is a silly call for us anyways, but when you step back and you look at the family dynamic, they need a certain sex to show up and talk to this young man. I can like fill in that role perhaps, but I got to talk to him a certain way sometimes. I can't just be like, come on, buddy, please. It's my dog, trying to get my dog to take a shit. So, so that is definitely the tough part of law enforcement, and just the viral nature of everything going around. I mean, shit, I'm sorry. I have a podcast about a cop sitting in a donut shop, but so yeah, it exists and I proliferate it, but so it can get scary. And part of the reason why I hit bank, if we're playing, weakest link.
Yeah.
I hit bank. So let me drop a commercial and then we'll be right back and talk a little bit more about the media industry, or all that kind of stuff. What's in the cup, guys? What's in my cup? Blackout Coffee Company. We joined up with them. I've been drinking it and I enjoy it, and I think you may enjoy it as well. So you can go over to our website and click the link, or you can just go to their website, blackoutcoffee.com, and use our coupon code to get 10% off. The code is DSP10. So go over, check it out. Hey, come here. Come here. No, bring it in real close. I got something for you. Did you subscribe yet? Right down there. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification, because you got to know when we're going to give you a show. Do it. Go now. I'm waiting. Come on. Right there. All right, back to the show. So I'm a rock guy, and I enjoy a lot of the bands that you've worked with. So I think it's pretty cool. So I don't know. I just kind of like, I'd love to pick your mind and see your vision. And I know through your Instagram page, you post a lot of behind the scenes, kind of hanging out or green room type stuff. Nothing that's going to get anybody in trouble, but it seems like you and your crew kind of tend to have a good time while still being professional. Right?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, all the bands I've worked with, I know I just picked up Rush, so it'll be a new client, but
Yeah.
whether it's Nickelback or Shinedown or Motley Crue, like I've known them so many years where there's that level of trust where we can just be ourselves with behind closed doors. They can be themselves. I can be myself. And so it's a very community based type stuff, but it's one of those things too where it's like you don't realize the amount of work that went into, at least on my side, just to even get to that show day. This starts 6 months out with the advance and stuff like that, and like the hotel stuff and travel. And so for me, it's just like those moments, I'm just hanging out with my friends, just talking life. And it's like when it's showtime, it's showtime. And like it's funny with Shinedown, there's a switch that hits about 2 hours out from the show where it just completely the dynamic changes in a way of like, here, we're going out here for the next 2 hours to kick everyone's ass. And so it's just like you get like hyper focused with that stuff. But like again, when you wake up in a bus and you're in some Madison Square Garden and you're having coffee in the dressing room, it's like you're just hanging out, enjoying life. And it's just like there's no noise going on. There's no one bothering you. You don't have to talk about the industry or whatever we're there for. And yeah, it's kind of surreal. But for me, it's like you have to build those relationships with those people because you have to get to that point where they're not going to make you work and you're not going to make them feel unsafe. And so I'm just fortunate.
Best demonstrated in the movie Bodyguard.
Yeah, I mean, if only he was there for the bathtub.
Yeah.
But no, like it's one of those things. Yeah, again, I just don't. I have fun being myself, but I know it took a lot of work to go there. It's going to take more work to go to the next level where I want to go to. So it's like you're always chasing that, but you have to appreciate those moments where you can laugh and just talk shop or talk shit and just be human.
Yeah. Yeah. So in your role or, like with what you guys do, like you said, like the advanced work, and I'm going to probably nerd out and get into the nuts and bolts of the industry, but like, so you guys then have to work and liaise with management of the band, because you're obviously not the band's managers. You have to liaise with the management, like with the touring and all that kind of stuff. But then you've got to get with the local security, like say for the arena, like CSC or other companies like that. You guys have to then coordinate with them because that's not you, right? Like that's a whole nother aspect.
Yeah. So when a tour gets announced, say there's a tour happening May 1st, by this time right now, the tour manager, the production manager will start reaching out for the show advance in terms of what shore power, dimensions of stage, lighting. They'll start going to all like that production side of the stuff. The tour manager will start reaching out to the venues to kind of get like their contact list. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing type thing. Then I jump in. I just focus solely on the security aspect of like the shows. And so that probably 3-4 months out, I'll do an additional email and call with like the promoter, whether it's Live Nation or whoever, and then the building managers, all the managers that oversee all the professional sports teams, the concerts. I'll talk to them, and then we just build up rapport. I've worked with 99% of these people, so for me, it's just a simple text: "Hey, this is what I need. I'm going to get it." But you still go through the hurdles of all this stuff and make sure everyone's on the. You have to. So for my job, not only the physical security, but then I start dealing with like the media and press. And then you start talking about like, so I know about this stuff too, because I love this aspect of it. But like, so 6 months out, you start the advance. 3 months in, you start fine tuning stuff you need. And once the tour is rolling, if a trend is changing, whether I see the demographics of a crowd, they're skewing older, or there's more mosh pitting, or there's more beer being thrown, or stuff like that, I'll have to start relaying that to my next couple of shows. Hey, this is what the trends I'm noticing. It's 45 or 55, 45 male, female, skewing younger, a little more rowdier. We have to look out for this type of stuff when it comes to the barricade or front of house security.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
A type of thing where it's like, hey, what time are the fans showing up at doors? Doors are at 6, but these people are lining up now at 8 in the morning to get on the floor. And so that type of stuff, like you're always in communication with the venue in terms of like this type of stuff. And then if we're arriving via bus or private or SUV or whatever, then the logistics of road closures and stuff coming from the FBO to the actual site. And that's working with local law enforcement and venue security to make sure the cars can get through roadblocks and stuff like that. And then from there, on a show day, I'll do a security meeting with everyone there. All the security managers, the local company, whether it's a company like CSC, whatever that company is, and then the venue security, and then the concessions people, which comes into play of like, when can we sell beer? When does beer stop being sold? If this happens, we're cutting beer off. No beer in the barricade, no beer on the floor if it's a seated show. It's like what's being sold is stuff being sold in a container that can be used as a projectile to throw on stage.
Yeah.
We have to decap all the water bottles because if you take the cap off, they can't fill it with whatever liquid and make it a bigger projectile, pour the floor into cups.
Oh, so that's one of the, okay. Yeah, that's just because they do that at concerts. And I just sat floor side in Orlando for Lainey Wilson. And my wife was asking me, she's like, why? And I'm thinking like, yeah, they're going to throw an empty beer. Nowadays, a lot of arenas don't have bottles because meat puppets and shit, but they have the aluminum bottles. And I'm like, oh yeah, they might throw the bottle. But then you make a good point. Yeah, you just fill it back up. You got your beer in a cup and you just fill that back up with water. And now you've got, a half pound or quarter pound item that you can tomahawk throw up at the stage. Shit, freaking Zeta Fest back in the day down here in Miami or in Fort Lauderdale.
Zeta Fest,
Sunrise area. It rained. They got mud and everybody. So Better Than Ezra was the lead singer jumped out and fought the crowd because they were throwing so much mud from the grass up at the stage. And then Better Than Ezra, I think he jumped in the crowd, whatever it was. But I mean, there's videos of that on social media, not on YouTube, not other social media anymore. But YouTube just, big time. That was a bad one. I mean, obviously Woodstock being one of the worst, 99. But yeah. So, okay. So, sorry, I'm interrupting, but super interesting about the breakdown, and you got to think about that stuff.
Yeah, so we do all that stuff, and then you go through with like, hey, if there's a fire alarm, what is the delay? Is it audible? Who can hear it? What is the response time needed to confirm this is just a AI glitch or like some sort of like this bullshit alarm? If it is a fire, this is how I'm pulling the band off stage. This is how we're doing a stage announce. If it's an active shooter, this is what we're doing. This is how I pull the band off. If it's an unattended bag, this is how we're doing. So you run through all these scenario-based things where if this is happening, if there's a power issue, what's going to happen? And unfortunately, I've been involved in all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so you kind of have to like play through all the scenarios when you talk to people because you're in a big room, usually like a boardroom, whatever. And so people will ask these questions. Sometimes, 9 times out of 10, I know what the question is going to be. But one time, every now and then you get that one random question where like, man, I never thought of that. And you have to be like, this is what you have to think about it. Then, hey, this is how we're going to proceed and go forward there. And so we just did a show in Bethlehem, PA, I think a couple years ago with Shinedown Music Fest, outdoor stage, big street, like thousands of people, street market, all this crazy shit. And it rained out all day, but when it comes to doors are held. It stopped raining, it cleared up, and then people are like, "What's going on?" And so I get alerted that hey, there's a unattended bag. It looks like pipe bombs in this tree outside the exit gate, and so I get alerted. We have to strategically tell the band, "Hey, this is why doors aren't open." Without alarming them, because you don't want you're there to make sure their show is not affected. Now, obviously, they can see
there.
They can see that hey, like this could be a situation. Like, how do you? So I'm usually what I have to tell them in my way, and they go, "We'll just handle. Let me know." But that gets bumped up from the local security to the mayor's office to a local FBI, and they have to come in there with a SWAT team and everything. It turns out the backpack had 4 metal tubing canisters, like almost like those things that the skateboards or rollerblades kind of grind on.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
it was just 4 empty bars
I mean,
with like weird stuff. It had all these weird stains on it. And so it's like they got all the cameras there for the mayor's office and stuff, and they're able to find this person. It got whatever. But to not alert the fans, you have to tell, oh, it's a rain delay, it's a lightning strike possibly, which again, it's believable. But then when that stuff happens, you have to like deal with it, but also make sure that there isn't this crazy hysteria of, hey, there's a possible pipe bomb out here, and all of a sudden you got all these people running towards it or dealing with media and all this shit. So it's like there's a lot that goes into it. And then you're on stage, and then if there's a fight that breaks out, I work with a couple of bands where the crowd, obviously all the bands will react to it after the song. They'll pause the show and, hey, break this up. But I work with some singers that go into the crowd and want to help diffuse it. And I always have to tell local security, like, hey, I'll be with them. I don't need 30 people jumping in behind me, but like just be aware of the situation, what's going to happen. And yeah, I mean, it's happened a bunch of times too, where you go in there, it's like these people are brawling out. My singer breaks up the fight, and like I'm trying not to embarrass the singer, but also make sure we're not getting swung on. And then you have all these drunk people around us who have no idea what's going on, that the singer's even next to them in the crowd.
Yeah.
And so that's, you just got to do all these scenario-based training and experiences and stuff like that, and just kind of do it. And yeah, it's a blast. And like every venue's different, from Red Rocks to Madison Square Garden to O2 Wembley Arena.
Fucking Red Rocks, man. That thing's like my wife and I hiked all the way up to the damn top. We were
It's
there
awesome.
for a Goo Goo Dolls show 2 years ago or whatever. It was like the third attempt at doing the show, and it was on my birthday. So we were in Denver, and she was like, you want to go to this show for your birthday? And I was like, yes, Red Rocks. Yes. But wow, like it is not something for the ladies to wear heels. And we had already read that. So we kept our hiking shoes on, and what a
it's a great venue, the worst venue to do a show in terms of production. Because you have to push all that gear at the bottom of the hill up a ramp.
Yeah. Oh wow. I can't because that's what one of the parking lots we parked in. It was like a freaking half-mile trail to get to even the entrance, and then you're not even in the venue, and you're looking at the venue going, holy crap, we have like GA seats, or the whole thing's like GA. So it's like I can't get anywhere. Oh, all the food is all the way up there, and you've got to do like an insane hike, but
cross through everyone who's sitting down on the benches. It's just
the acoustics is beautiful, the scenery is beautiful, so it kind of balances itself out. But I can't imagine lugging all that equipment, because you're not getting into that place with like trucks and stuff like they do in most arenas.
In places like that, you can't do the concussions or a lot of pyro for obvious reasons, because of wildlife and
that's like breaking up the rocks.
So.
So yeah, wow. It and like what you said, because so many performers do like to come out into the crowd, or they do this thing, and I always watch, because I'm like, man, there really is only like one or two guys. There's like a guy kind of in the front parting the seas, and then there's like I'm watching your back guy. A lot of times there's not a full team around the person of a safety bubble, and they're just out there going. Aside from the guys that jump on and crowd surf, those are, you know.
There was this one time, me and Brent from Shine Down, we did Rock AM Park, which is a German festival. It was like 60,000 fans, and Brent splits the crowd in half. Him and I jump into the crowd and keep walking past front of house all the way back. And then it's for the song Enemies. And as we're walking back, the wall of death basically happens. And so him and I, like I'm behind him, grabbing him, and we're just kind of pushing forward. And the fans there, they're great. Fans in general are very respectful. He can control the crowd that way. No one's really grabbing us. But there are times where I'm like, I'm grabbing people, just throwing them or needing them away, because they're just in the moment. But I'm like, I got to get my guy from this crowd through this crazy people running around, slamming each other, to the stage again. So it's like moments like that where you kind of like, dude, what the hell is going on? To like, then you do it and you do it again. You're like, man, this is fun. Like it's there's a rush to that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I mean It's I enjoy it at our amphitheater in Palm Beach, when they'll, Jared Leto did it one time where I'm like, yo, Jared Leto's right here, dude, like right here, like
Yeah.
it's a great thing, but it can definitely be a stressful environment for, someone that's got to protect this person from somebody just being an idiot, or the social media influencer in this day and age that wants to make a name out of himself. Hey, I'm the guy that punched Jared Leto, or something like that, so it's crazy. But good times, man.
Yeah.
It's I we're going to Ireland in
Nice.
June to see Zach Bryan. Haven't bought
Yep.
any tickets or anything yet, but Zach Bryan's playing 4 shows in Ireland, so we're gonna go see him down in Cork, and then spend another 8 or 9 days traveling the island, and doing all
So
that.
fun.
So yeah, I've been to Ireland, before. We did my wife and I did 7 days, but it's cool. And then I know a guy who's a police officer over there, so I really hope to get together with him because he's followed the show since day one. So I really hope to get together with him and
Yeah.
do a podcast and talk to him about. I like when I travel to be able to actually sit down with somebody. It's these streams can be nice like this, but it's how it is. It's cooler to sit in person
Break
and actually
bread.
talk to
Yep.
somebody, and have that conversation. I did that with a police officer in Iceland, a friend of mine. So those are always fun to kind of talk about the differences in law enforcement, here and there. I got another buddy who's trying to tell me, oh, I know a guy who's a 25-year traffic cop in England. And I was like, dude, I don't know if I can have him on United States social media. Like, he
Yeah.
may
He
get
might
in
get
trouble in England. He
right.
can't say anything disparaging. I can't hold a gun somewhere or whatever. Like, so, but I'm like, if this guy wants to do it, like, I'll do a stream with him,
Yeah, that'd be
and
awesome.
we'll talk about. I'd be curious to talk about that, but obviously, I'll tell him, look, you talk about whatever. You're still on the job. I don't want you to get in any kind of trouble or fucking arrested in the fucking UK, man. So where's somewhere that the bands have taken you, like in a crazy, or just a place you never thought you'd be, like city or country?
Uh in terms of, I'm trying to think here. In terms of like a crazy location, I mean, we toured Russia before it got closed down. In some of
Uh-huh.
those places, like Nizhny Novgorod, and like obviously you do like all the major cities, but
Yeah.
culturally, I mean, that was my first time on paper doing Russia, and like to actually go out and like enjoy it and like do all that stuff. Like it was just kind of surreal that you hear all the stuff on the news, like, oh, Russia's this, Russia that. The people are amazing, the food's
Yeah.
amazing, the arts, the culture. I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but in terms of like a culture and a people, amazing.
Yeah.
So like getting to see all these places and these old churches and like all this stuff. Um, the Secret Service, I did this one trip with Jakarta and Israel, and to go into Bethlehem and see like the tomb of Christ and stuff like that, where you're just like, this is
Yeah.
surreal. I don't know. For me, venues all seem the same to me. I have favorites, but like I just don't. I know a bunch of friends. I know in Kentucky they just opened up this venue. It's a smaller venue. I think they're around 2,000 people, but you actually do shows inside a cave. So
Oh, wow.
I think my friends at Blackstone Cherry did a show there, and that's amazing. I guess the acoustics like Red Rocks, but this time
Uh-huh.
you're in a cave, and so places like that would be kind of cool. I think it'd be great to do a show about Rushmore, just for the
Yeah.
optics of that. I think that'd be kind of rad. Um, but yeah, like everywhere I've probably been to the majority of the venues in the world, so I don't. There's not many where I'm just like,
Yeah.
you take it for granted.
I was just in Atlanta this weekend, and Stone Mountain. We went to Stone
Yeah.
Mountain, and my parents told me that they were like, "Oh yeah, when we were, because they do RV trips and stuff. So when they were at Stone Mountain, there was a concert right there in front of the carvings and stuff, and on the front
Oh, that's
face of Stone
awesome.
Mountain. And so they said it was a festival or a big show. I forget what it is, because they've gone to whatever Blues Fest in New Orleans. They've
Yep.
gone to that before, and I know that's a
The
big
jazz
that's a
festival.
big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is, the
Yeah.
jazz
Yep.
festival. That's a big thing. That's not just jazz. I mean, everybody's there. You can be
Oh yeah.
rock. You don't have to be jazz.
Yeah.
Um, Super cool though.
Yeah. It's great. It's fun, man.
I've done festivals. I'm more of like smaller spot. I mean, it might be the law enforcement in me. I don't like the standing around all day, like you said,
Oh
for
God.
New Year's Eve, the diaper stuff, the the personal space. I'm a personal
Your
space
back. I
guy.
hate having my back open to people behind me and stuff like
Oh yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I'm the worst at restaurants where like we'll joke like everyone knows what seat I'm sitting in.
Yeah, of
So
course. Yeah, just
but
like any
stuff like
cop.
that, right? But it's just like that where it's like I want to be able to have my back against a solid object. I want to be able to see who's coming through the doors. But
Yeah.
like concerts, like standing around, like I don't get how these people do it for like 8-10 hours a day for 4 days in a row. It just stand there,
Yeah.
the weather, and drunk people. Like I just don't want to. Just don't even stop. Just stop.
Yeah, the only time I've ever done like a big one was Gentlemen of the Road for Mumford and Sons,
Yep.
and that was it was really cool, but it was just one of those things where like, yeah, it's probably not going to be my thing. We took my parents' RV. It was up in St. Augustine, Florida, and it was cool to how they had they were satellite places to stay. So the festival had buses that came and picked you up. So the campgrounds that we stayed at was a bus stop. So we just jumped in a 60 passenger charter bus and it took us into the place because the place in downtown St. Augustine was not built to hold, whatever, 40,000 people that were probably at the show. I don't know. I'm pulling numbers out of my ass, but
Right.
it was huge, but it was a several day festival, super long lines to get drinks. And thankfully my buddy was always the one that was like, "Oh, I'll go get the beers." And I'm like, "All right, cool, bro. Thank you." But it was just the personal space, the people just cutting through. Like we had towel on the ground. They just walk right across your towel. And it's like, hey, we kind of made a space here, guys. Like
Right.
it was frustrating, but it was amazing. And I was the one that stuck around for the DJ set after Mumford and Sons closed because it was nice when we left. Nobody was there. Like there was a DJ set and it was cool. We just continued to party and looked at how dirty the grass was and stuff and full of cans and
Shit.
trash and shit
Yeah.
probably. So so it's nice, but I prefer the smaller local shows. Arenas are cool, but smaller local shows because you can just find me at the bar or back by the merch table,
Right.
just hanging out. But like you said, in the back of the show, at least with some view. Or sometimes
Yep.
I like to talk to the sound guy or the engineer that's
Yep.
the lighting guy and stuff, like Coheed and Cambria's. I'd talk to this guy for a couple shows that I've seen him at, and he's the same dude all the time. So I've talked to him a few times, not like we know each other by name, but I know kind of like what to ask him and like, all right, hey, would you set up? And he'll show me on the computer screen what's going to happen and everything. And I'm like, oh man, this is cool. Like cool thing to see all these behind the scenes touring stuff. So let's kind of get into, for a final segment, like let's get into your podcast. Like what can you tell us about your podcast and like what you do? And I know you've got a couple different kind of phases of the podcast that you do.
So I started the podcast literally a couple months into the pandemic because like we kind of stuff we talked about, my part of my job that I love is the traveling and talking to people. And I didn't want to lose sight of that. I didn't want to have that communication breakdown where I can't talk to my people and my friends from all different backgrounds. And so
Yeah.
I was like, maybe I'll just do this. Like I have the only podcast at the time I listened to with Joe Rogan and a couple of other like science ones, just because whatever.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what it was. Like it was right at the onset before it really blew up, and like especially with the at-home people. And like I'm just gonna talk to my friends. So it's like a wildlife conservationist, a martial artist. I'll talk to Pat Miletich from UFC, like all these people I meet on the road. I'll just interview them and we'll just talk life. And so after a while, I started as like a need to like fill time, where then became something I truly love. And
Yeah.
it's opened up my passion for reading again and writing, and just like it helps me with like the note taking and the research stuff I like to do. And so it's like the perfect concoction of like all the stuff I used to love. And now here I am doing this thing that's foreign to me, that's making me realize how much I loved all this other stuff. And so kind of went from there. And then we launched another one last year. Me and Eric from Shinedown have a offshoot of it called Taco Tuesdays, where that's just no agenda, just talking anything from art and painting to UFOs to whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I have a couple other on the channel, A Tale of Two Scribes, which is my friend Eric that talks to other authors. And then my friend Will, who does like a ghost story type thing. So which is, again, just surround yourself with people that kind of like want to just create and put yourself out there. And for me, it's just like talking to my people that either people I really know and I could talk about where I could talk to David Draymond or Jacoby from Pop Evil or Papa Roach, and people would be anticipating, oh, why'd you ask me Zord, or tell me about 10,000 Angry
Yeah.
Fists, like all this shit that you always talk about. Where I know these people at a human level, where I could talk about life outside of the music world. And so I find a lot of my conversations with these people, like people are anticipating, sure, you're going to talk about the new single, a new album, or new book, but I want to talk about the stuff that no one else gets to talk about. And like, that's why I love doing what I do. And so
Totally.
I've had some great conversations with people that just like, man, I went in there thinking one thing, and all of a sudden you're talking about something completely different where I'm like, this is rad. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm going for it. I start recording new episodes actually tomorrow.
Well, I just saw you drop the one with Brad Meltzer. Like, he's fascinating. He's just super nice guy and cool. But
So Eric Bishop, who's an incredible author, thriller author, writes a lot of like espionage, action, thriller type stuff. His podcast, that's his idol, Brad, in terms of writing. And so, so to foster conversations like that where people could talk to people like that, it's just like, for me, that's just like, I love it. And so, yeah, so I'm jumping back into it. I got like a month and a half off, so I'm gonna really like double down on a lot of stuff here, and I got a lot of cool podcasts to record and just keep doing it. So back to my whole thing with the podcast and Speartalk is like my love of writing. I actually released 2 books this year, which were highly successful in the poetry space, and I also wrote a comic books this year that are going to become their own thing now too. So it's like one little idea of a podcast really like hyper focused me on like my love of writing. And so like able to kind of create, it's like, I don't know, like for you, it's like the podcasting is such a passionate thing. And like, you don't know what's going to come from it just from talking to someone else or producing a show, or it's like, I feel like people like us or like the Tylers and like the other people on the network, where you're just like, the more you're like ingrain yourself with people that are like creative and like trying to make a difference, like I feel more inspired. And so it's like, again, when I watch you guys do your thing and all the shows and stuff like that, where I'm like, this is like, whether I agree or disagree, that doesn't matter. It's, man, these people are so passionate about what they're doing. It's like, it's inspired me to be passionate. And I think that for me is like, that's where it's at. And so it's like, this podcast is giving me a whole other, like breakthrough to my mind and like my goals. Cause it's like, I now know I'm a very successful writer. And so I can break up the minutia of security work with writing or podcasting. So it's like, they all kind of go hand in hand, and I'm able to just kind of like lead on another one if I'm struggling on another.
Yeah, hell yeah. It's I've always been huge with hobbies. This stuff kind of is a hobby for me because it's not like I make any money doing it. But I've done all kinds of other hobbies. I used to have a soccer podcast. That was a great time when we had a local soccer team in Fort Lauderdale that was Division II, and we used to talk in my buddy's kitchen, and we had all the mics. He was a single guy, so we cut up his kitchen table and like ran wires down. We put a hole through the front of in the middle of his table, and sometimes we'd get 4 people sitting around a table just talking, and it was cool because we used to run it through Blog Talk Radio, which was run through Skype, so you had to sign in through Skype, but it created a lobby basically. So there was a text chat that would go on just like StreamYard, but it would it would stream out to, and it was only audio. It wasn't video. And the team used to send us players because it was Division II. They were kind of big, but they weren't huge. And so the team would send us players like as if we were a real media group. And it was just so fun to actually do that. The team would give us press credentials, and you've had people from the Miami Herald, the Sun Sentinel, up in the press room, and then like me and one of the guys would walk in a little tuned, and we just kind of like, all right, straight face, relax, because that's what we were. Because I was the guy, the capo, that would lead the cheers with the megaphone. I had the megaphone, and I would call out the cheers and start them, and I was standing out in front dancing. But then sometimes I'd hand it over, and I'd go, hey, we're gonna go up to the press box because we want to get some free food or talk some shit. And so we'd go up into the press box and meet a couple of the guys, and hey, but then we'd get field access because we had freaking media credentials, and we'd run around with an iPhone and a microphone plugged into it. My buddy would do on-field interviews after the game. So it's like we felt real.
Yeah.
We actually got spanked because they were like, the media coordinator was like, guys, I know you know all these players and the coaches are your good friends, but you need to hang out with the media. And we're like, oh shit, all right, hey, we're not going to do on-field shit anymore, because we've got to sit there with like the real news and like ask real questions. No, we're gonna ask them like, hey, did you fart on the goalkeeper when
Yeah.
you went in for that
Right.
sliding tackle, and the players would look at us and go, what? And we're like, honest question, answer it, and like put the microphone back in front of his face. So, but that kind of stuff is fun, and it just it expands your creativity. They moved to a new stadium, and we went in and we shot like a stadium tour because all the fans had never been there before, but it was in a public park, so you could get in there. So we went in and filmed it. And so like it like you said, got the creative juices running. Like, what can we do? What can we do to like,
Yeah.
keep people engaged and go, hey, I'm going to tune into the tailgate show to learn about my team,
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So it's fun. And then you talk to different people, and sometimes somebody can like open up an idea where it's like, oh, I never thought I could do that. Like, I'm going to look into that and try and learn that,
Right.
and then now I'm Neo in the Matrix, learning how to fly helicopters,
Right.
or Kung Fu. So yeah, it's, I don't know, super cool. I'm just ranting on, telling stories about my old podcast.
I love it.
But like, how do you manage, like, how does your company manage like multiple tours going on at the same time?
So we have a team of like 8 or 10 people that do the
Okay.
tours. I mean, obviously I would love to do them all.
Yeah.
I can't do them all. So you have to kind of pick and choose. But for us, it's like you surround yourself with the right people. I'm going to put someone in a position to be successful where they might be great at their job, but they might not fit this artist personality. So I'm going to put someone else here because you want to make sure everyone is in a position to succeed. And I think a lot of times people just fill a space without realizing, hey, your guy you've trained with and hung out with and grown up with. Why are you going to put him with this band? This band might think politically differently, or this band likes to party more. It's like, so you got to find the right way to, again, supplement what you need, but also give everyone the position to succeed. And so, yeah, we have like 8 or 10 guys that we can put out there and jump around and stuff like that. I mean, this coming year, next 2 years will be super busy, but again, if you love what you do, it's not really working. And it takes hard work, but like, again, someone's got to do it.
Because I feel like there's an uptick in tours more so than there was when I was a kid. I don't know if it's just because I recognize it, but from what I've heard, it's really because obviously a tour is where the money is. So they've just got
the merch sales is where artists make a ton of money. So it's like, again, you gotta get out there and work. And the other thing too, it's like, especially the last 2 years, when you were shut down for 3 years for the pandemic, it's like there's this double down of like, we got to fill up every venue with every show every day of the week. And sometimes 2 shows a week or 2 shows a night. And so, I mean, I think it, again, always seems weird, at least for us. Like, we always have 3 or 4 bands every year touring. So it's like we can able to jump back and forth and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot, because you take out the music side, there's comedians, there's sporting events, there's plays, there's theater, there's all this other stuff that's happening every night. So it's like, again, if you're going to do something, you got to be able to put on a great show and all this stuff to make it worthwhile to actually do this stuff. Because parents got to get babysitters, they got to spend gas money, they got to buy food and drinks. So it's like all this stuff that adds up, where it's like, that's why I get these artists that just like don't really give a shit about their fans. They just take it for granted, where it's like, you don't realize what it takes a family, a couple to come out to a show where they have 2 kids at home and all this shit. So it's like, be grateful for that.
Yeah, even without, and then talking about concert ticket prices and all kinds of stuff.
Ticketmaster and all that bullshit.
Yeah. Even though they're showing all the fees now, I don't know, for some reason, the fees are still, even with the fees, it's like outrageous, like, and it's becoming more and more. And I don't know is it the venue calling for more money? Is it like where's the money going? Because I know the money's not going.
Well, I think that Ticketmaster thing is going to be a little crazy once it goes to the courts and stuff like that. Because I think there's definitely some issues there. with that. In terms of like, again, to your question, where's this money going? What's this money for? Like, where are all these hidden fees and bullshit and surcharges and service charges? It's just, it is astronomically crazy.
Yeah, because obviously the tour or the artist is going to say, all right, we want it to cost this much money, but it's like, how many more people are they paying? Like there
Right.
was always security that was there. Security is not a new thing.
Correct.
This is not a new thing. Law enforcement being on presence is not a new
The
thing.
vendors selling the popcorn have always been here. Like, what's the?
Yeah, like so why is it cost that much more money? So did Taylor Swift have to buy all brand new tractor trailers for every show? Like what are we doing? Like, we're only going to allow 100 miles on each tractor trailer, and then we put it out. Yeah, and then they have to go out. Like, what are we funding here? So, and where's that money going? And a lot of the public feel like it's going to Live Nation and Ticketmaster, and they're just keeping it themselves.
Yeah,
but I don't want to say anything that gets you in trouble.
No, it's I work with all different promoters, Live Nation, AEG, all this private stuff. So it's like, again, for me, it's just like I try and just focus on my job. But like, you see stuff like that where you're just like, this doesn't make sense. Like, because what the artist guarantee is versus what are all, again, these surcharges, all this craziness that comes with. Because if a show goes on sale, a person buys a ticket at face value, the tickets aren't that expensive. The problem is you have these companies and groups of people that able to work with Ticketmaster and buy up all this shit. And then now the secondary in the other markets to buy these tickets are 3 to 4 times their price. So it's like,
and that's the other sick thing is because Ticketmaster is not going to combat that because they're getting a fee on top of every resale.
Correct.
So there's no
right. They're basically making money.
They're like, sell it 3 times.
Right.
We could give a fuck.
Correct. We're making our money every time.
Yeah, so we made our guarantee at the beginning, so everything's already covered. Now you want to sell it, so we're going to grab $50 from you reselling it, and then you decide to flip it, and now we're going to make $50 again. Now we've made $100 on top of all of our guaranteed that we already got from the original sale, and all it's hurting is me, and they're still. Maybe I had to cancel or I couldn't go. So it's like, all right, I'm going to sell it. Even if I sell it for the same value that I bought it for.
You've lost money.
Yeah, I've lost money because Ticketmaster. And then we even noticed that they're doing that with season tickets for because SeatGeek is the one for the Florida Panthers. Yes. So like if a season ticket holder, it's a lot of games at home and they can't go tonight, this Wednesday night, their kids got a hockey game or something like that, and they can't go to a Panthers game. So they decide, all right, hey, I'm just going to sell the ticket for $15. Let's get somebody to go. Nope. They put a cap on it. You have to sell it at, the face value or the higher value because it was a season ticket or whatever. You have to sell it at a certain limit. They don't want you just giving away because they don't want you to kill the rest of their secondary market. And it's like, what the like, what if I just want to introduce somebody to the sport, or something like that can only afford $15 to go to a game, like let them just buy it.
Yeah, the vultures capitalize on this, and the true fans are the ones that suffer.
Yeah, super crazy. So, all right, bro. Well, I'll have to, if you got some time off, we'll have to get you on a Friday afternoon, 3:00 show for open mic. I want to rotate counterculture podcast hosts in so that people kind of can get to know them more. Like I said, pre-show, we're building a good community with fans of just the network in general that follow now a lot of the podcasts. So if they start to kind of hear our voices and see us more often, they'll be like, oh, this guy's, part of the team kind of thing. So I got to get you rotated in, and then we'll figure out some kind of a hot button item for you to cook on or something like that, when
I was out there the first time with Tyler, we started talking about the Vegas shooting and like the whole craziness. I love stuff like that just because it's like, it's in my wheelhouse, but it's also a lot of like conspiracy theory type stuff with that, where it's just like, but no, I love what you guys keep doing. I think it's refreshing to have people that they're unapologetic, speaking their truth, and just to have the confidence to kind of put that stuff out there. Like it's awesome. There's some stuff where they talk about where I'm like, I'm not familiar with it, so I don't react the way I do. But I could hear an insult or I could hear like a remark back. And that's what I'm like, okay, now I need to get invested because this was hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah, we and you being in the show business mindset too, like that's one of the things, and it's not a secret. We're somewhat trying to create a WWE mindset because that's obviously a recipe that's succeeded for a long time. But we need to create a little bit of controversy and just get people talking about something.
Right.
So it's not an echo chamber, and so we've got to have people on both sides. But one of the things that we got to know is, hey, bro, when we get in the locker room, like we're still boys, we're still chilling. Like those aren't
Yeah.
like legit real jabs. Like I'm just trying to inspire you to talk about something, to make a point, come back at me, but just also don't take it too
Yeah.
personally, or don't get too personal. So we've had to battle that a little bit and sort of remind people, not to get their feelings hurt a little bit, or not to take it too far
Right.
sometimes.
Well, it's also one of those things
Yeah.
too where I just read a thing recently with like new entrepreneurs and stuff, and like people are starting stuff to do where it's like counterculture. You draw the line in the sand, and hey, this is who we're going to be unapologetically. We're going to be these
Yeah.
type of people, love it or hate it. This is who we are, and the people that gravitate towards the who you are, that's the community that's going to rally around you. That's what's going to actually organically grow. I found that very interesting because it's like so many times you see these podcasts that try and cater to both sides, where it's like, and this isn't me saying, hey, talk to this guest and this guest, and this is more of like who you are as a person or brand. Stick to the what makes you happy, and then the right people that are going to support you are going to follow you. And it's like I don't
Right.
want the fact that counterculture doesn't play. They just play. This is the line. We're on this side. Agree to disagree. We love or hate you, but we're not going to change who we are. And I think that's what's going to make counterculture really stand out, especially as you go in 2026 and 2027 and on.
Yeah, yeah. No, very, very true, very true, man. Happy to have you here with us along on this ride. So, and
Yeah.
looking forward to actually meeting you in person someday
Yes.
at like a meetup or at event. We gotta get great at all the stuff we do on the ground, and then like continue to grow and do other cool things together. One of the things I want to do is a range day type thing where we're just all out shooting on a range. Like safety first, but boys and their guns.
Yeah,
and
or
have
like a
little
Spartan
fun.
race, or like one of those weird like obstacle
Yeah.
course races where we're all mic'd up, we just talk shit the entire time.
Yeah, imagine. Oh man, it's fucking Spartan race. Oh my god, I'm doing a 5K in like 2 weeks. But yeah, it'll be fun. Yeah. So all right, bro. Well, stick
Yeah.
around. We got to make sure the upload does its thing.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, and I will get any links or whatever you want put in the description. We'll drop it down below so everybody can follow the podcast and check it out, because he's not talking to cops and all that bullshit that we might talk to on some of ours. He's talking to like some real people, some famous people, and some other different interesting guests that everybody can learn from. So
Awesome.
check it out. All right. Thanks, John.
Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin.
Calling all units, calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.